Here we go. Episode 37. And real quick, I start every show with this. If you would like to be on a future episode, or if you know someone that has some cool stories and would like to be on a future episode, shoot me an email right here. If you're just listening, the email is sttf.weareeverywhere@gmail.com. And thank you for all of the new subscribers that have subscribed to the YouTube channel. We're almost to 100 subscribers. I know that doesn't sound like a lot in the grand scheme, but it's a lot for this show. And what do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy. So we're stoked about almost hitting 100. Maybe you will be the 100th subscriber. Without further ado, Mr. Lonny G, episode 37. What's up, man?
Whoa. Hey, man.
How are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good. Your girlfriend and bandmate we had on a few episodes ago.
Sarah.
Yep. And she was talking a little bit about the band that you guys are in together. I know that she's in a couple of bands. She mentioned that she was in a pop band as well. Is that how you guys met? Was through music, or did you like go to high school together, or how'd you meet? Was it music?
It was music. It wasn't our band,
Cool.
but it was music. It was one of the many Grateful Dead cover bands that blessed the bars of New York City.
Which was this one?
So this one was oh my God, Ice Petal Flowers.
Ice Petal Flowers.
Ice Petal Flowers, which I guess is some lyric in some Grateful Dead song.
Shout out Robert Hunter.
Yeah, Robert Hunter. Cheers. And that was in like early summer, like late May, early June 2018. We were at the show. Just, a bunch of my friends were, also a bunch of her friends, but we didn't know each other. And then we all went to the show one night and danced and met each other and locked eyes on the dance floor, and the rest is history.
Nice. I love it.
We did go to the same school though. We both went to UMass Amherst, but I was a freshman, she was a senior, and we were in the same room for sure at least once for a Herbie Hancock show when he came to UMass.
Cool.
We were both at this Herbie Hancock show in 2013, so we have that going for us.
So that's the first show you guys saw together.
That's the first show. I think we both fell asleep during it.
The disrespect. It's cool though that you got to say that you saw Herbie Hancock.
Legend.
Dude, yeah. Not that movie. That album, was it Chameleon? Yeah, dude, that's like the only
That's all you need.
That's all you need, baby.
Yeah. I think there's just like 0.5% of Herbie Hancock fans who know the entire discography.
Yeah. And the rest.
Chameleon and Watermelon Man. That's all you got.
That's all you know. That's all you need to know.
But if you can play Chameleon on bass, you're in.
You're in.
And on stage.
It's like one of those, like you see people that walk up to people at like festivals that are like wearing like a band shirt and they're like, name 3 songs.
I've done that before.
Have you?
Yeah. Like in New York City, you have to, keep things fresh. If you're having like a bad day, and you're on the subway and you see this, I don't know, let's just say some goth looking person wearing a Grateful Dead shirt, just be like, or like an MTA employee wearing a Grateful Dead shirt, like, oh, what's your favorite Grateful Dead song?
Yeah.
And they look at you puzzled.
Who's that? Dude, because it's crazy. Like if you go to like the mall now or anything, like you can get like Dead gear in like fucking Old Navy.
I know.
Like the dancing band, like they're everywhere. It is
some of the best Grateful Dead merch I've ever seen, and Red Hot Chili Peppers merch was at Urban Outfitters in Austin, Texas. I remember it so well. I'm like, how does this exist?
Dude, I remember the first time I went into an Urban Outfitters and I was like, what is this store? Because like if you don't know what it is and you just like wander in there, you're like, oh, this is cool. And then you're like, oh wait, like this is all like okay. And it takes you a minute.
Yeah.
And like even like if you have something from Urban Outfitters and someone's like, oh, that's cool. Like, where'd you get it? It's like Etsy. I don't remember. Somewhere online.
Send me down.
Yeah. My older cousins. Yeah. say anything but Urban Outfitters.
I know.
Oh, dude. Why
I don't
is there
think I
that
own
stigma
anything
with
from them,
that?
though.
What?
I don't think I own anything from Urban Outfitters.
I don't either.
No.
Or do I?
I would. They do have disposable cameras, so if you're ever in a pinch,
Oh,
you're going on a
wicked.
trip and you need a disposable camera, they have them.
That's one of those things that, like, I haven't been looking for, but I haven't seen one of those
Right.
in a very long time.
It's good to know.
Yeah. I actually took a disposable camera to my first Phish show.
Good
And I
man.
still have them like printed off and stuff, and they're so bad. Like I was trying to take pictures in the venue. It's just like black, and you can see like little dots of light.
Yep.
But enough about my first.
Send them to Phish on Film. On
Oh,
Instagram.
dude. I don't know if any are good enough, but I could.
But
I do follow that
amazing
page.
account.
Yeah, it really is. Some of the stuff I see on there, I'm like, oh, dude, that's a gem.
I guess shout out to Phish on Film. Keeping it vintage.
Keeping it vintage.
The Urban Outfitters of Phish.
Oh, no. The disrespect.
I know.
Okay, let's get into your story.
Let's do it.
First off, how old are you?
27.
27. Okay. A little bit younger than I am.
Yes.
So when did you first discover Phish? Like when did you first hear them? When did you get that first CD? What was it?
Yeah, it was I would say probably 2008, summer 2008 in summer camp, Jewish summer camp, you know, a breeding ground for many Phish fans and their first tastes.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've had
it's called Camp Kindering in upstate New York, where I went to forever, and huge Phish culture, huge Dave Matthews Band culture, Dispatch, OAR, all that good stuff.
Sure.
Right. All the gateway drug bands. So I heard my first, my group of friends and I, we all heard, I'd say this one counselor, I don't even know who it would be, probably showed us and put on Gotta Jaboo. That was the first song I ever heard. Studio Jaboo. So fat, so bouncy, so good, so clean and crisp. Hearing that, and then hearing probably Ants Marching by Dave Matthews, right after.
Yeah. It's like a mix CD or something.
An iPod,
an iPod, yeah.
All iPods. Plugged in with the aux cable into the speakers for the whole camp to hear.
Yeah,
I mean, this one summer, this one friend brought speakers where if we put it on full blast on one side of camp, you heard it on the other side of camp.
Tight.
You can imagine what a bunch of like inappropriate 14-year-old boys would play for the whole camp to hear.
Sure.
Gotta Jaboo.
Yeah.
So I heard Gotta Jaboo, right? The first time I also heard, Ants Marching, and it felt like a Matrix situation where it was like Phish pill, Dave pill. And we ended up taking the Dave pill and following that, chasing that dragon for 8 years or so.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so really there was a long time where I knew of Phish and I was listening to Phish, but didn't go see them live. And, now we're in 3.0 and it was like every year I would add a couple songs to my iPod of Phish. Stuff from a live one. There was that Alpine release in 2010, I think, that Phish came out with, and there was a Fuck Your Face. There was the Susie Okipa into Susie opener. So that was kind of what filled my iPod. And I really had the same like batch of 13 Phish songs for about almost 10 years before I saw them for the first time.
And are these, other than like the Alpine show that you talked about and a live one, are some of these songs that you're putting onto your iPod, are these like studio? Is this just a mix of what you can find on like LimeWire?
Yeah.
Where are you like searching these out at?
Probably, I was big into like the YouTube MP3 downloader where you go on YouTube, let's say there's a Susie Greenberg. I remember this girl in high school, when I told her, oh, I listen to Phish, and she was like, oh, Susie Greenberg's my favorite song. Well, then I went and discovered Susie Greenberg.
Gotcha.
And what I probably did was found a video on YouTube of it, copied the link, brought it into this YouTube MP3 converter.
Yep.
And then it goes to your iTunes. I mean, it was everything for me was iTunes.
Yeah.
Torrents and MP3 downloads.
Pirate Bay. Did you do Pirate Bay at all?
Yeah, all of that. I mean, especially to get like live Dave albums too at the time.
Sure.
So that's how I got my Phish fix. And I don't think I ever like bought anything, like any CDs or anything off iTunes, but I would just download. And like I said, it was like very incremental, a couple songs at a time. And that was that. There was Gumbo. I remember Gumbo being a big one. That was played a lot. Yeah. And then I saw him.
So whenever so going back to summer camp, and you're getting exposed to all this jammy music, and you hear Phish, you hear Dave Matthews, and Dave Matthews like sticks out, and you're like, oh, that's what I'm gonna like dig on for a while.
Yeah.
But still picking up Phish here and there. When was that first time to where Phish like it like clicked? When did it surpass Dave to where you were like, oh, this, like, I understand now what's happening, and like this is my bag? Was it after your first show, before your first show? What did that look like?
It was during the Baker's Dozen. It was when I started seeing them for the first time.
Were those your first shows, the Baker's Dozen?
Baker's Dozen night 1 was my show number 1.
How many? Because you were obviously in New York at that time. How many did you see? Did you catch them all?
I went to 9.
9. Okay, cool.
It worked out really well where I was renting an apartment. I was subletting with a friend in Williamsburg for super cheap. And he was like, my roommate is gone for 2.5 weeks. And it just so happened to be the 2.5 weeks of the Baker's Dozen.
Nice.
So, and at the time I was living, at home. I just graduated school. I was in Jersey with my parents. So I was like, yeah, I'll crash with you for $350 a week to live in Williamsburg. No problem. Or a month, whatever it was. So I had this place in Williamsburg, that wasn't New Jersey, where I could go to via subway after each show. So it made it very easy. I was working a job where I was making real money for the first time and out by 3:00. So it was very easy to go home, hang out. And then I would say out of those 9 shows, 7 of the 9, I got my tickets at the box office, like the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's nice, dude.
Yeah. But I mean, backtracking on that, just, deciding to go to a Phish show. I mean, it really came down to just being like, you know what? I think it's time to see Phish, but that's like its own,
Yeah. Yeah. So up until that first night of the Baker's Dozen run, how deep into Phish are you at that point? Are you still like, oh, it's all Dave and like Phish sprinkled in here and there? Or had you already like kind of dove into like the rabbit hole and were like, oh my God, and like getting obsessed with like certain jams and things like that? Or did it happen at the Baker's Dozen?
So the rabbit hole started with right before the Baker's Dozen in May 2017.
Gotcha.
With it was a trip to Barnes & Noble with my dad, and I went to the music section, and there's the Phish biography book by Park Potterbrew or whatever his last name is.
I have it.
The black and white one.
Yeah. Well, no, mine's the cover's in color, but it's the same one. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, it's just like the 4 of them, like in the snow. Phish biography. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, and I thought I'm standing there and I'm like, like I've known about this band for 8-9 years now. I know they're playing in New York City in a few weeks, in a couple months. I think, and I've literally just said to myself, I think it's time I should learn more about Phish. So I got the book.
Yeah. And
I went back and I read it over the course of 2 weeks. And that was where it all started. Cause I would be reading the book and, we're in, early 1.0, we're in Burlington in the 80s. I would put those shows on. I would downloaded Re-Listen for the first time and would put those shows on. And like if he's talking about foam, I would put foam on and listen to foam as I'm reading about foam.
Yeah.
And that was just like double whammy, like mind explosion.
Yeah, man.
Because
Especially, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, because like, this was like the first time I'm learning about Phish, learning about Trey, Mike, Paige, and John and their history and where they came from. And I mean, the history, it's an amazing history, as we all know.
Yeah.
So interesting. Cool. And from like my like young, 23-year-old mind at the time, I was just like, this is serious. This is not Dave Matthews Band. Like, this is Phish.
It's a whole different thing. Yeah.
A whole different thing.
And I'm sure, to be fair to Dave, I'm not one of those Dave bashers. I like Dave, honestly. I really do. As a matter of fact, I was listening to a little side tangent. Yesterday, I got home from work and my girlfriend was at home on the couch and we were talking and everything. And like, we started getting a little like snippy with each other. And she was like, hey, I need you to show me some grace right now because something's happening with me. And I was like, all right, I got you. I was like, heard, message received.
Yes, chef.
And then I was like, hey, Google, play Grace Is Gone by Dave Matthews Band. And I just walked out. We both started laughing. But yeah, love Dave. And I'm sure if, we were to read a Dave, biography or a book about Dave, you're going to have those similar stories of like him starting out early and stuff. So yeah, no disrespect to Dave. I love Dave.
No, not at all.
But it is a different animal, like with Phish. And it's funny that you brought up that book because that's a similar story that I have. Like I got into Phish like 2004, whenever, shit was just fucking disastrous, but I had no idea of it. I was just kind of doing the same thing, like downloading songs here and there, here at Live One and things like that. Live in Brooklyn. I was like, this is cool. And then 2009 comes around and we're like, dude, we're going to go to New Year's. Like, let's do it. Let's do it. And so that year for Christmas, like, that's what I had asked for. I was like, I want this. And I was like obsessed. And my mom got me that book as well. So I was like, oh, dope. Like, I got a couple of days to read, before like we go on. And dude, I was just reading and kind of doing the same thing. I was a little bit more familiar with it, but I was just like getting like amped up. And I was like, dude, I'm like learning like deep dive into the history. I'm about to go see these guys for the first time. And it's just like, gets all giddy and shit. I fucking love it, dude. So you're discovering, and I'm curious, are you already playing music at this time whenever like you're discovering Phish? Because looking at it through like a musician's lens is a little bit different than just like someone that doesn't play music. So were you already like playing guitar and like learning stuff?
I've been playing guitar for my whole life,
Gotcha.
Basically. So, but at the time though, if you asked me to play a Phish song on guitar while reading that book in May of 2017, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
You're not going to launch into Run Like an Antelope.
No, now I can. Well, actually, not. I haven't learned Antelope yet. Right now, I'm learning Yem.
Dude,
I just got through the intro of Yem. It's a beast.
Tip of the hat to you, man.
But I'm slow. I'm not at the speed it needs to be yet.
Right. No, we have to start slow.
We got time until it debuts.
Yeah. So are you sorry, another side tangent. Whenever you play, are you like practicing like with a metronome?
I try to.
Yeah.
I try to. It's tough. I mean, like a song like Yem, it's like such weird timing already.
Right.
It's there, but like it's getting used to that click. Like,
yeah, knowing where, especially with so many notes. So
I know I should.
The intro.
As a bass player too, I really never played with I've always just preferred playing with a drummer.
Right.
Yeah.
The metronome doesn't have as much.
Metronome is depressing.
It really is.
It's like the same tone over and over again. Exactly.
Like, this doesn't have any fucking groove, man.
No. I'm a drum machine guy. I've had this bass pedal, this like Zoom multi-effect bass pedal forever, and it has like an amazing drum processor on it.
Cool. So you can use that.
So when I'm like home solo, I can just play along to a drum beat instead of a depressing click.
So whenever you're learning, like you said, you're learning Yem, like are you reading like sheet music on it? Are you looking at tabs? Are you just listening? Like how are you learning?
Tabs. Emil's tabs.
I was
Obviously.
just about to say, dude.
Love you, Emil, whoever you are.
Dude.
Wherever you are, you know, I'm for all guitar players who are learning Phish. I mean,
Emil, and then for the Dead, Jay Darks. Have you
okay.
looked at? Yeah, look at Jay Darks. I don't know if it's jdarks.net, or you could probably just type in Jay Darks tabs, and he's
Yeah.
got like live recording tabs like that.
Oh
He's like,
man.
and they're pretty like spot on. So if you ever go down the Dead
Yeah.
rabbit hole and want to learn some Dead tunes, Jay Darks. But yeah, Emil. So that's, you're just looking up Emil's tabs and learning
Yeah.
Yim, and that's how you're learning most of these Phish songs, or?
Yeah, I think so. But like songs on like Jaboo or, you know, like Possum or something, you know, that are like more straightforward chord wise, right? Jaboo is only 2 chords.
Yeah.
For that, I'll just listen, like instead of Emil's, I'll just listen to like a bunch of 3.0 recordings, a bunch of 2.0 recordings, a bunch of 1.0 versions, and like just hear what Trey does. Because that song, you just like need that inspiration.
Like the phrasing and things like
Exactly.
that.
Things
Yeah.
he's doing and
Yeah.
ideas.
Different
Well, that's what I'll
licks.
do for those songs. But a song like, song like Yam or Antelope, I'm going straight to the tabs.
Yeah. You have to, man.
Yeah.
Dude. And that's, I think Yim, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think whenever you get to like the end, like where it's like funky and stuff, I think it's just 2 chords then too. I think it's just C to G.
G to
It's
C.
like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's gonna be such a relief.
Yeah,
I think about that.
Like you running uphill with like all these fucking notes and all these passages, and then you're like, fucking finally.
Yeah.
Just 2 chords. Let's fucking jam.
And I'm playing this on this Fender Strat, and there's only 21 frets, and there's some parts of Yem that are, you know, 22, 24 frets, because
You got to get some
you know,
bendies in
this
there.
Trey plays a, you know,
Languedoc.
24 fret guitar, so
Animal.
I'm trying to get creative. I have to do some parts on the lower register.
Yeah.
Because I
having to.
I don't have the space up there.
Yeah.
One day I'll get a mock doc, you know.
Mock doc, dude.
A mock doc.
I've looked at those things, and they're beautiful, but like you can't. They're not affordable.
No. Oh, Fred has some decently affordable ones.
Does he?
That I've seen. Yeah. PHRED.
PHRED. Okay.
Yeah. Like there's like a tier that's like more affordable and that look beautiful and I've heard good things about. And then he has like a second tier.
Got it.
That's like more in the like, you know, $2-3 grand range.
Okay.
That's like, you know, a bit more serious.
Yeah.
I'd probably just stick with the first tier.
Yeah. Same.
And then mod it out when I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not that high maintenance when it comes to my guitars. Like I don't know all the, you know, all the guts and all the ins and outs. Just like,
dude, I don't either. It's like
Yeah.
I have 3 guitars, one's acoustic, and then I have a Strat as well. And the other one, I'm not really sure what it is, so I won't get into it. But same thing. It's like, you know, you'll be playing with some people and they'll be like, oh yeah, no, I did this. And like, I got these pickups in it now. And then like, there's talking, I'm like, I have no idea what you're fucking talking about. Like, how does it sound? How does it feel when you play it? Like, I don't know any of this shit, man.
Yeah. Just give me a nice neck and low action and I'm ready to go.
Yeah. That's the main thing.
That's it.
You don't want your fucking fingers bleeding and shit. Having to like hammer on every fucking.
Yeah. Nightmare.
Okay. So back to your story. Sorry. I'm good at taking us off on tangents.
So. No, as it should be.
So you hit your first shows, you hit 9 of the Baker's Dozen.
Yes.
And after that 9th show, are you just like, is your life completely different? Are you like changed? Are you like, okay, now this is like, how are you feeling after the string of shows?
Whole new life, whole new world, a whole new massive door just opened.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you know, have a whole new crew of people around me.
Sure.
You know, out in New York City, you know, like before the Dozen, I'd be going out with my, you know, summer camp day friends, right? My homies.
Yeah.
That I've known for a very long time. Going out with them, you know, doing that thing. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm going out with a bunch of like 35-year-olds, like, to go see Phish cover bands at the Cutting Room or Brooklyn Bowl and having the best time ever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I never have to wait in line at a bar in Murray Hill again, you know? Like,
is that like a big like Phish area or?
well, that was like what I was doing before is like, you know, my
Okay.
friend group at the time,
Oh,
that's like this little neighborhood, you know, you went out like recent like college graduates would move there and like
sure.
that's where I couch surfed a ton.
Gotcha.
So if I wasn't subletting in Williamsburg, I was couch surfing.
Nice.
And that was super fun.
Yeah.
Because anything's
On
better than
different levels.
yeah, it was the year of just nomad and discovering Phish.
Figuring it out. Yeah.
It was tough going back to my parents' house after 9 Phish shows and living in the city, that whole combination.
Yeah. Trying to figure out what real life's like again.
Yeah. But yeah, then everything changed after that.
That's awesome. So you hit the 9 shows of Baker's Dozen, and then your life's changed. You have a different outlook on Phish. You're totally into it.
Oh, I'm in.
How?
After show number 1, I knew I was going to more.
Yeah.
Like, to put it into perspective, it was 5 of us who went to that first show together, Coconut Night. Because when I was, you know, reading this book and it hit me, I was like, we need to go see Phish. Like, I texted my Dave crew, right? That's who I went to go see live music with. And you know, we'd seen a good amount of Dave shows together. And I was like, guys, like, it's time we see Phish. Like, it's been long enough. We need to go see a Phish show and try it and see what it's like. And they're like, it didn't take much convincing. I was like, they're playing in New York City on July 21st. I'll get tickets. But we need to go. And they're like, all right, fine. And 5 of us went. And out of the 5 of us, 3 of them have only been to that one show.
Okay.
One of them has seen him like 10 to 15 times. And the other one has seen him 104 times.
You're the 104?
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
But it's just like, you know, it was funny. Like, you know, after that, 3, you know, more than half of the crew was just like, all right, I saw what I needed to see. Like, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, that we have to like keep in mind, you know, everyone that's on this show, obviously, like, is a huge Phish fan. And it's like, you know, whether they've seen one show and they just got into it, or they've seen 104, or they've seen 400, you know, we're all like obsessed with this band. And sometimes it doesn't take with other people, and that's okay. Like, there are other people out there that like, you know, jam band music, but Phish isn't their bag. Maybe it's Dave. Maybe it's whoever.
It was funny because the next show I went to after Coconut Night was the Sunday show, the Red Velvet. We had gone up to do something in upstate New York that Saturday. And so here's Clay. Here's where it really clicked.
Lay it on me.
The moment where it clicked, and I was like, all right, I'm in this.
Yeah.
It was the Saturday night. It was Strawberry Night. We were all, my camp crew, we were all upstate at camp. It was like the visiting day, and like we weren't at, you know, working or going to camp anymore, but you can still go up and like you get super shit faced like that night up at the bars in upstate, and then you go to camp the next day and, you know, say hello to everyone. And we're up there and we're all at this bar, me and my closest friends, like people I love so dearly, who I'll know for my entire life. We're all at this bar, and Phish is playing Strawberry Night. And if you look at that set list, it's just phenomenal. And I remember at like midnight looking at the set list and breaking down, crying because I missed Cities and Peaches and Regalia. 2 covers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like, I like sit down on the curb and I'm just like with my phone, like, oh my God. And I think that's like, I mean, that's just like the big sign right there. Like, you're all my closest friends in the world having, you know, we're having the best time once a year. And I'm just like, I miss Cities and Peaches. Looking at Phish.net for the first time. Like,
yeah.
Oh my, and like, they're coming up like, Lonny, what's wrong? I was like, you won't understand.
You won't get it, man.
You won't get it. So that really was the moment where I was like, where at least it was like, all right, you can't really miss shows anymore. Like,
especially shows that like are like hometown shows.
Yeah.
If Phish is within, and it's a little different for people that live in New York. or in the Northeast, but like people that live in different parts of the country, like if Phish is on tour and they're within 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of you, like you gotta do it. You're gonna see, or you're gonna be pulling a Lonny, and you're gonna be looking at the set list on Twitter or on .net, and you're gonna be like, why did I not do that?
Yeah, and obviously, that was the first of many times, as we all experience. We all have our shows where we
the
we're
FOMO
out there and we're just like, wow, I've been chasing that song for 25 years and I missed it by one night.
Okay, so speaking of that, the white whales or the songs that you're chasing, I know you mentioned Peaches and Regalia and Cities.
Yeah.
Other than those two songs, do you have a song that you're still chasing after seeing Phish 104 times that you haven't seen?
So I guess I'm definitely still chasing Peaches. Haven't seen that yet because they did that in Mexico last year. The Night with Dave. That can be a whole nother episode about looking at my phone and being, wrought beyond belief. Sanity, I'm still chasing. Sanity is like the big one, and I've missed that one a few times, like by one show.
I love that
Sanity
song,
has always gotten away from me. I got Forbins finally at Shoreline 2 years ago, and that was amazing. Yeah, Iculus I haven't heard, but I'm not really chasing Iculus. Like,
sure.
It's funny. We were at Dick's last year, and we went home that Sunday. And I remember waking up Monday and like Scott Marks like Twitter, like song 384 of Summer Tour, Iculus. But it's okay.
Yeah,
I didn't have any FOMO.
It's kind of it's cool to get, but Iculus itself is kind of a novelty. It's not, you're not like missing anything other than being able to say, oh yeah, I've seen that song.
So, honestly, not a Phish original, but Ride Captain Ride is like,
oh nice.
It's like definitely like the #1 cover. I am really, and Albuquerque. Yeah, Albuquerque by Neil Young.
Yep.
Like those two. I mean, who knows if they'll ever play them again? And I think Trey just needs to know that someone wants to hear it.
Tell him.
And I think one, like, think about how many songs that guy like has just like cycling around his brain.
Oh yeah.
And I truly believe, like, if you just like, if you run into Trey and you tell him, Trey, Ride Captain Ride in Albuquerque, like there's a big pocket of fans who would go pretty crazy for it. There's a chance maybe in like the next couple tours he'll play it.
He'd be like, okay, I could see that.
Yeah. So he'll do that.
Whenever people saw, whenever they clicked on this episode, you have a picture with Trey. So you've met Trey.
Yeah.
Whenever you met him, how was that experience for you? Because I've had this memory. I've had this dream in my head of years of like how I would act if I met Trey or anyone from Phish, really. And I was like, oh, I'll be cool and just be like, hey man, I really like your music. You changed my life. But then on the other end, I'm like, I would like that. Completely like not be cool at all. I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I know I'm just I got to get a pic. Thank you so much. Can I have you want to text sometime? Like,
yeah.
I would just lose it.
Can I buy you dinner?
Yeah. What are you guys doing later?
Yeah.
So how did you come to meet Trey, and did you play it cool? Did you?
Yeah. So that was after Trey got stuck New Year's. That was now we're in January 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Tab's 2-night run at the Cap in Port Chester.
Okay.
And we go there, and my people, we like to get there early and just hang out and be up front and just hang out. Like if we're going to see Tab and we don't have anything to do that day, there's no work, or just go to the venue, post up, and usually it's like the familiar faces are the ones who like get there at like 2-3 p.m.
Sure.
And just hang out and have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So we get there around then, and we're hanging out, and you know, it's kind of just like, all right, it's the Cap, it's a small venue, like there are only so many streets, like, you know, Trey will pull up at this spot eventually, and you know, I'm young and like got a lot of energy. I'm like, oh, I'll go hang out. I'll just like hang out nearby. And I've always my whole life been intrigued by just like, you know, like celebrity sightings and
Yeah.
just like, you know, where the action is. Like I've always, you know, if I see like a bunch of security guards, I'm gonna be like, what's going on? Like who's here? I
Yeah.
ask that. Like if I see a line, I'm like, what are you guys in line for?
I
So
gotta know.
yeah, I gotta know. I'm curious. I'm, you know, like
Yeah.
Sarah says, like I'm the cat that gets killed by curiosity. Gotta know. I gotta be involved.
What's going on?
So like 4:30, I'm like, screw it. Like if I'm standing here, like you guys are all here, I'm gonna go stand over there, see what the deal is. And I go and I end up standing and hanging out with Scott Marks, you know, the man responsible for every stat you know about Phish.
Yep.
God bless you, Scott Marks.
Yep.
And he's hanging there, and you know, you can imagine how excited he is because he's obviously there for the same reason I am. Like he knows that Trey's gonna pull up eventually. And this was like a really good start to Scott and I's friendship. You know, since then we've, you know, done like legs of tours together and just
That's cool, man.
Scott is an amazing friend. So we're hanging out and just shooting the shit, and he's, you know, he's got his phone ready, he's got his clipboard ready. He, you know, full Scott Marks mode.
It's not his first rodeo.
Not his first rodeo, but this will be his first time meeting Trey.
No shit.
First time meeting Trey, you know, and when you like think of that, he's been seeing Phish since '97, and he's been so involved in the community and so involved with, you know, the Phish world for so many years.
Yeah.
That he's never met Trey before, you know, 2020.
Wow.
I was like, this is surprising.
Yeah, I'm surprised right now.
I'm honored. Like I've been seeing Phish for 3 years, and like Scott, we're in this together.
Yeah.
So and eventually, you know, the black tinted Suburban pulls up. And you know, security's like Carl, RIP, who was Trey security at the time. He's in the background of the photo. You could see like that face to the right of Trey, that was Carl.
Yeah, I think he's in it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the man. He was a big, amazing person in the scene. Kept Trey safe, and that's all that matters. So, and then the car pulls up, Stu gets out, and then Trey gets out. And I remember as Trey came out, I hear a bunch of commotion behind me, and I look to my right, and it's like 4 parents with like their 6 kids. And they're like, oh, guys, look, it's Trey. Let's go say hi to Trey. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, because at this point, we've been waiting. Like, I get it, like, for the kids, it's great, but like, you got to wait in line. I don't care that, you know, it's the kids. Like,
yeah. You're like, do not fuck this up.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, but Trey gets out. Scott goes up to him, and they have a moment. And Scott actually requested a song. Forgot the name of the song. You know, he's like, you know, you guys used to play this. Like, you haven't played it in. Probably gave him the exact number of shows he hasn't played it in. And Trey ended up playing it that night, which was super cool. And it's cool to be near Scott at the show and hear that. And just was there for that origin. I take a picture of them, and I guess then it's my turn. And I'm like, hey, Trey, like, I'm Lonny. He's like, oh, Lonny, good to meet you, man. And I'm like, you know, my friends and I would really love to hear Esther this summer. And he said, he's like, oh, it wasn't morbid. It was, I wish I remember, it was some adjective, some very specific, you know, like Trey geared adjective that he used to describe Esther. He's like, oh yeah, like, that's whatever. I forget the word.
Fill in the blank. Yeah.
Fill in the blank. And we talked about it, and not too much. And then we got a picture, and that's the picture you see. And then, of course, the kids take over. It was very quick. You know, kind of just flashes before your eye. Yeah. But you know, when he looks into your eyes, like, it's pretty powerful. Like, cheesy, but like, those very big eyes, as we all know. Like, those eyes have seen a lot, and like when they're looking right into yours, like, that's really all that matters. That's really,
it's funny, like, because it's he's this like thing to us, and like we've read the book, you know, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But and like we've seen all these shows, we've watched all these documentaries, and you know, it's like we feel like we know all four of them. But like Trey is like obviously the leader.
Yeah.
This dude we're looking up to, and then even at putting like you being a musician on top of that, you know, like learning his songs, and it's like you get that moment to where you're not just another face in the crowd, you're looking face to face with him and like having a conversation, dude. That's cool.
I know. I wanted to tell him. I remember I went back up to my friends after, you know, back to the front of the Cap, and they're like, "How was it?" I'm like, "It was great," but I should mundane. By the way, mundane. Esther is a mundane song. In Trey's words.
Okay.
Oh, that's a really mundane song. And I mean, but
that would have thrown me off. I would have been like, what do you mean?
Yeah. But the next summer tour at the Gorge, he plays it. They play it at the Gorge. Night 2, set 1. I'm here. That was the one set of the weekend that Sarah and I went up onto like the cliffs.
Yeah.
To, like take it all in. And we got it. And that was Sarah and I's first. She's heard Esther before, but like that was a big chase for both Sarah and I. And then they ended up playing, as we know, like 4 or 5 times from that point. Like,
yeah,
Esther has been in like semi-regular rotation. But I went back up to my friends. I'm like, you know what I should have said to him? Should have said that learning my friend on guitar has shown me the guitar in a way I've never seen it before. Because that's like that guitar, you know, connection. But you know, then we had a great tab show, and it was super great. It was night 2 of tab at the Cap in 2020, and then. That was the last time we saw Trey for a while, unless you were in Mexico.
That's cool though. And like you said, like that was 2020, right?
Yeah.
So like what, like this is like in the height of COVID. So was he like standoffish?
No, this was before COVID was a thing in the States, at least. This was January.
Oh, so this is
we didn't get hit until March.
Okay, gotcha.
We did a whole Mike Gordon tour in late January 2020. There was some good music in those first, you know, 2.5 months.
Gotcha. Because I was curious if he was like, because he's been pretty, like you've seen him, like he like masks up and everything. Like he's pretty, like they're all pretty on top of it. And I was hearing you say 2020, just hearing the year 2020, because most of it is like, that's what people think of. It's like, oh my God, that's when shit all started. But yeah, I guess it makes sense if it was right before. So you caught the nice, dude.
There were still shows. It was amazing.
That's awesome. So you've seen Phish 104 times. You met Trey. Got introduced at the Baker's Dozen. What, after all of these shows that you've seen, and after like you're deep into the rabbit hole now, what is your favorite year of Phish? Like as a musician, like whenever you're going back and listening and you're like, admiring like the playing style, or just like hearing like where the band is in their growth at that point, what's your favorite year?
I love like 87, 88, whatever.
Early.
I can get, like as one option, because you hear, you know, if you listen to like some of the first Yems, some of the first Fluffhead on recording, which is at like Hunt's in 84, Dude of Life was on vocals because it's his song.
Sure.
The song is in a completely different arrangement. It's so good. I just love listening to those and just kind of hearing like where songs started. Like you listen to early McGrups. You listen to like some of the first handful of McGrups, and the lyrics were spoken, not sung.
Mm-hmm.
So when they did McGrupp just the other week at Mexico for the encore, the last night, for like the first like 2 verses, Trey speaks it. So I'm just like freaking out. And I'm like, oh my God, like he hasn't done this since 86. But like, you know, who knows if that's the case or not.
Sure.
So I love listening to just like, you know, when Trey's still like, you know, this is when Trey's getting his chops up on guitar.
Learning,
the band is learning how to play with each other. I think it's super cool. I'm a sucker for 93. Anything like 91 to 94 is just like unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Dude, spring 93 is like,
it's next level.
It's so raw and so fucking A, dude.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah,
So early years for you.
yeah, early years, when there weren't really like effects to like cover up,
Yeah.
like not to cover up, but like to like take place of just like of playing,
Of just raw, like
raw playing.
kickassery. Yeah.
I think 95 is my all-time favorite year
Sure.
because you still get, you'll still get songs like All Things Reconsidered,
Mm-hmm.
which I love. I guess I'm chasing that. Trey, if you're listening, All Things Reconsidered, you can play it slow, but please play it. And Eliza, like a lot of that stuff, like
Yeah.
some of the first records are so good and so technical, and would love to like see Trey give it one more shot, and then you could retire the song forever.
One more shot.
Like if you played Slow Brother, you could do a slow Eliza or a slow All Things Reconsidered. But that just might be the guitar player in me speaking.
Yeah, yeah.
But 95 is so good too because you have massive jams. You have Hershey 95, on December 1st. New Year's, obviously, but that whole summer, I mean, like, short hair Trey and like the pinstripe pants, like a lot of acoustic armies, a lot of just like fun experimentation. Now they have their bluegrass chops up because that's what they were doing in 94.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Gordon Stone on tour with them, teaching them the ways. That stuff is so cool. And like the footage on YouTube of like them backstage. Like, I'm Blue, I'm Lonesome when they're all doing that.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I love that. So are you a bluegrass fan as well?
Yeah, my cousin, he like turned me on to the Dead and the Band and Dylan and Wilco and all these like, heady Americana bands. So I always like had that appreciation. It's also his birthday today. Happy birthday, Harris.
Birthday, Harris.
Yeah. And he was at that Alpine 2010 show, which is funny.
I was there too.
Yeah. Yeah, so I always had that appreciation for just like raw acoustic,
sure,
Americana, and then hearing Phish do it, but then also like Shred and Uncle Pen, super cool. Oh, dude. Uncle Pen is a big chase of mine too.
There you go.
I heard I technically was there for the Baker's Dozen one, but I don't remember. I didn't know what it was.
But you were there.
I was there.
It's on your stat sheet.
It's on my stat sheet, but it's not in my. It's not in my brain stat.
Right, and that's a quick like you gotta be there for that, and that's like a 2-minute ripper, dude. It's there and then it's gone.
Really, I was there for Billy Strings one at Nassau last year.
I saw Billy Strings do it too.
It was unbelievable.
Dude, it is so funny. You probably had this same like experience with it. Like I'm at this Billy Strings show and loving it. I'm a fan of bluegrass, and he goes into Uncle Pen. And immediately, like, I know it's not Phish's song, but immediately I'm like, oh my God, like he's covering Phish. And I was like, no, it's not Phish. But then I'm like looking around, and it's like, it seemed like I was the only person that knew like Uncle Pen. I'm like singing it. I'm like,
yeah. Because we know that song through Phish.
Exactly.
In our head, it's a Phish song. Exactly.
And Billy, I mean, he's played with Trey, like he was covering Phish songs before he even played with Trey. So like that's kind of like what I was hoping for going into that, talk about expectations, right? I was like, dude, if he just covers like a Back on the Train or something, I'm going to lose my shit. But it didn't happen.
I'd love to see the two of them on stage together.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too. And who would have ever thought, that happened? I was like, what?
I know.
Trey is playing with Phil, like what?
And that was like Trey is like on his toes the entire time
because he knows,
smiling because he knows.
He's like, dude, this kid's got some fucking chops, dude.
Dude, it must have been a trip for Trey to like watch him just like point blank.
Yeah, he had to be in awe, dude.
Yeah, I like. That's when I like seeing Trey like out of his comfort zone a little bit, when you could see he's enjoying it and like being challenged and like.
Yeah, and I love that he does that.
You don't see,
because someone at his height in his career has been doing this thing for 40 years. Like he's kind of like a guitar god, and taking that like dose of not humility, but like, or checking your ego, and like being like, okay, this kid's in his fucking 20s and I'm just like sitting here playing with him and like hanging back so he can fucking acoustically shred my fucking face off. Like that's pretty fucking cool to like set that ego down. Man. Okay. Favorite jam of all time. I always describe this as you're on a desert island. You can take one Phish jam with you, and that's all you can listen to for the rest of your life. What's your jam?
Probably the Went Gin.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just when Mike hits that A, like, jam is C to G. And then obviously, that Guitar Gate Break the Anatomy of a Jam video, like
It's so good.
That's so good. And like that, spawned a lot of appreciation, but then you just listen and like, you really hear it when Mike hits that A.
It's all right here, dude.
It's all exactly. I mean,
I don't know how to describe it.
I don't either, but that was all Mike Gordon. And
Yeah.
of course the rest of the band, follows, and it's just like 7 minutes of like that bliss,
dude.
Bliss. Like I think Trey's like really on like 2 notes.
Yeah,
and that's what Trey's so good at. Is like I've learned is like not so much like obviously the left hand is fucking priceless.
Yeah.
But what he does with his right hand, his rhythm.
Yeah.
Picking. And that jam
That's a good one.
And then it goes into Uncle Pen.
Yeah, it does. Tying it all back in.
Yeah.
I love that, dude. It's so good. And like going back to like talking about like that feeling, like that's what like you hear people talk about like heaven and like the afterlife and all this shit. Like that's that feeling that you get whenever Mike hits that A. That's the closest I think that like that you see the sun. It's like 100%. Just you're floating. You're like, this is heaven.
You didn't know it was
what
possible.
It feels like. Yeah, it's so good. That's a really good pick, man.
Yeah, it's super. It just sticks out.
Yeah,
like I'll listen to that every week.
Yeah, it's in your rotation,
big time.
So we talked about Ride Captain Ride as a cover. We talked about Albuquerque as a cover. Outside of those, what's a song that you would like to see Phish cover? Maybe one that they haven't done before.
Ooh. Probably something, I'd love to see him do something off of Tommy, Who album.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they've done We're Not Gonna Take It. They've done that with Tom Marshall before.
Mm-hmm.
But like Eyesight to the Blind. Well, they've done Sparks, so that's cool. I mean, I would just love to see Phish do Tommy. Like Quadrophenia is great. I'm a Tommy guy. Like,
yeah.
If you would ask me, like, if they can go back to 10/31/95 and change it and do Tommy instead, I'd be so much happier. Okay. Like Quadrophenia is amazing. It's a masterpiece, and like Fishman doing Love Reign Over Me is,
Yeah.
But like realistically, does anyone really talk about like Phish's Quadrophenia like Halloween costume?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
And they encored with oh my god, My Generation and Exploded the Drum Kit. Yeah, I mean you can't beat that. Yeah. But I think Tommy is so much more like I'm just biased because I love Tommy.
It's like Tommy's like the Who's rift.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Quadrophenia is like their Story of the Ghost.
I love this game. I love this game. That's pretty fucking accurate.
Right.
I would say. Yeah.
So yeah, Tommy would be sick. The whole
Anything
thing
off Tommy. Yeah.
Front
okay.
to back.
Front to back. Let's go.
But I mean, if for any fans out there who are listening who were there for that We're Not Going to Take It show with Tom Marshall, I think that was like 96, 97 at the Garden. They go into the listening to you, I get the music, like that. That would have been like heaven. If I was there. Listening to it, hits, but not as hard as the Wench In. But like being there would have been like, whoa.
Would have been super cool.
Yeah.
Okay. On the flip side, what is a Phish song that you would be okay with never hearing again?
Everything's Right.
Everything's Right? Doesn't do it for you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Everything's wrong. It's 2023, man. Nothing's right.
Everything's right. I mean,
okay.
I'm big on like I'm someone who will like I'm transitioning out of this now, but like for a long time I'm always like a first set over second set guy. I think it was just like kind of like going into like my start of Phish and just like wanting to sing more words and like hear more songs rather than like get more jams.
Yeah.
Like at least for a while. And like I still feel like that. Like, you know, I want a first set to be 13 songs. Like take a couple out for like an 8-minute spin, but like I want a jukebox first set and I want a tripped out spacey second set.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like when a show starts with like a 13-minute, 14-minute, everything's right, I'm just like, all right.
Yeah.
Let's do something else.
Yeah.
No, but yeah,
like
everything's right. Everything's right. I like Life Beyond a Dream. It's not terrible. It's not as bad as you think.
It's not as bad as you think.
Yeah.
Does it have anything to so like with everything's right? Does it have anything to do with like the lovey vibe, like this like we're all in this together thing, or is it more of just like the placement of it where it usually lands, or what is it about it?
I think it's just like the lyrics just are like they don't invoke anything in me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just not at that point yet. Obviously, you know, Trey and I are 30 years apart, and he has a whole life. You know, I think as a young fan, I think about this a lot. Like as a younger fan on the spectrum of Phish fan age, it's tough to like connect to those songs that like Trey has written in these later years of his life and stages of Phish based off his, you know, experiences with people dying and, you know, overcoming these insane things that I can't fathom because I'm not there yet. I think that's why, you know, like I'm just like, because you know, I want to hear All Things Reconsidered. I want to hear like a rip in like Cavern still, you know, like give me that stuff.
That's definitely
it's like I'm not there yet. I can't connect with those songs. Like I'm still like mentally in like 94, 95.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want to hear.
Right. And it's like our expectations, you know. But one day we're gonna be in our 50s. We're gonna be like driving down the road and everything's right's gonna come on and we're gonna be like, oh.
Yeah.
I think it's right.
I'm just not there yet.
Right. Yeah, no, I feel you, man. And
but for the older fans in the scene, you know, like they probably have, you know, things that they can, you know, tie that song to. Just like, you know, Betray.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I like it. I'm with you though. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Let's pull some barn burners out before we start hugging everybody.
Exactly. Can I say something controversial though?
I love it. Yes.
I was talking about this with a friend yesterday though. I think they can like take a year off from Fluffhead. I think we got a lot, like to bring it to like a 1.0 song.
Yeah.
We got a lot of Fluffheads last year. And like it got to a point where it was like a Fluffhead again.
It's funny how that happens, right? Like with like the cycles rotate, like what they'll play, and it's like, oh my God, it's a huge fucking bust out. And then it's like in regular rotation and it kind of loses that
magic.
Yeah.
I think Fluffhead lost some of its magic. But then the last few, if you listen to like the last like most recent 3 Fluffheads, they could take them for spins. They take them for like really like Alpine Fluffhead, and it was really crazy.
Dude,
Fluffhead was played kind of too much in 2022.
I know you said controversial, but like I'm not opposed to that because I understand Fluffhead. I just want to get that out of the way before I say this. I understand. It's fucking cool. It's a lot of Fluffheads are like what makes it click for people.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. Like one of my buddies I had on here. Like that was like we were at Clarkston, DTE, Pine Knob, whatever you want to call it. And starting off that second set with Fluffhead, like he was like, that's the moment. And like I get it. I understand Fluffhead, but Fluffhead for me has never resonated like that. Like I understand it, I appreciate it. I'm like, this is fucking cool. If it comes on, I'm like, okay, we're gonna have 12 minutes, 13 minutes of pretty much we know what's coming for the most part.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't be upset. I'm kind of on the same page with you. I wouldn't be upset if they rested it for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Trey knows that though. I don't, I think he's always conscious of what he plays and what what's in rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was only because I was talking about it with a friend. I was like, Fluffhead, I think Fluffhead needs a break so people start chasing it again. And so when it's played again, it's like
you get that reaction. Yeah.
Which a song like Fluffhead deserves.
It does. Needs some respect.
Yeah.
It just has to be earned.
Exactly.
Okay. So I like to wrap these up on sharing some favorite memories from tour. So you've seen 104 Phish shows. What are those, other than, I'm sure that meeting Trey, even though that was at a Tab show, like stands out? But what are some of those things that like stand out? Some of those favorite memories? Could be at a show, could be on the lot before the show, could be driving to a show. What stands out in your memory?
The entire summer 18 tour. I did the whole thing with my buddy Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
That whole tour, I mean, driving from the Gorge all the way down to Los Angeles, that whole West Coast opening leg of summer tour. Driving, camping out in Big Sur, this guy tried to like kick us out of the campsite at 3 a.m. while half of us were like under the influence because we were being loud. And it was like technically a glamping. Our friend booked a glamping site instead of a camping site.
Yeah.
So we pull in at like 1 a.m, like brights on. Everyone's like popping out of their tent, like what's going on? And we set up, and then all of a sudden, beers start getting open, guitars start getting strummed. And like, it was unbelievable because everyone was just like sleeping.
Yeah.
And then we pull up and like
on different pages. Yeah.
And so like the guy is like, you need to leave. And we're like, you expect us to drive right now?
Yeah.
In the middle of the night?
Not happening, buddy.
It was so funny. That was super fun. I mean, the whole curveball weekend, not like a favorite memory, but definitely one that stands out. Just the whole, spontaneity of it all. I sold Gatorades on Shakedown for like the second half of Summer Tour 18. That was super fun.
Isn't that fun?
It's so fun. Well, you got to finance it somehow.
Yeah.
Gas, and I have all the primary colors. I have red, blue, yellow, and green. And orange, yellow and orange. It was great. Everyone, dude, Gatorade is so nice after a show, especially in the summer when you're sweating. Dude. Like, to hell with that beer, like a Gatorade.
Yeah.
$2, easy.
Yep.
So that was super fun. Flying out for Arizona and Chula Vista, super last minute for Fall Tour 21. That was a blast. I'm just like in the middle of nowhere, driving for Phish. And that was another, I think, Fluffhead opened one of those shows, or was like one of the first like jammed Fluffheads. Mm-hmm. Going to Arkansas for 4.0 opener was a blast because that was a quick fly from New York that morning, LaGuardia to St. Louis, get picked up at like noon, 5 hours down to Rogers, stage the show, 5 hours back up to St. Louis right after to catch a 6 a.m. flight home from New York to log in for my 9:30 a.m. Zoom with my team,
like camera off. That's awesome, dude. And those are like the best ones.
Yeah, and any MSG run is just when you live,
Yeah, it means something different.
When that's your backyard, it's so nice.
Yeah. So, are you hitting all 7?
Definitely.
Did you get them in the lotto, or did you put?
We didn't really try for tickets.
Gotcha.
We just blanked on it. Like, I actually did try it, and I had my card in, and like the site would give me so much trouble. Like your address isn't entered correctly, and I think a lot of people were experiencing that.
Yeah.
Eventually, I just gave up. Not too worried about it.
You'll get in.
We'll get in. We always do. I will be there. Not sure about the rest of summer. I think I'll be in San Francisco though for spring tour.
Cool.
That should be fun.
So San Fran and then MSG.
Possibly LA. Yeah. What about you?
It's one of those, like, this year I'm playing it by ear because I have two of my buddies are getting married. And they're both destination weddings heading into summer. So I'm seeing how finances play out with both of those trips. And then seeing, like, there's one going back to, like, if Phish is within like a 5 to 8 hour window of where you're at, like, you got to go. So the 2 shows that are in Burgettstown, Yeah, definitely gonna hit that or hit those shows. And then Dick's, that's one that me and my buddies like always do. But it's gonna be up in the air with Dick's for me this year. So maybe 6 if I hit Dick's, but definitely 2. So
yeah, I'd like to go to some of those like midweek smaller shows, right? Like Star Lake or like Wilmington, North Carolina is like an 8,000 person venue.
Yeah, like the smaller.
And that's when like those are the shows, like if you're chasing something, like maybe just go to those shows because like
That's when
those obscure out of the way ones are like, you know, where you might hear something you've been looking to hear for a while.
Gonna get a little nugget.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a jam, maybe it's a bust out, maybe it's both.
You never know. But a high chance for a Bittersweet Motel in Burgettstown, potentially.
Oh,
unless it's too obvious.
It might be. It might be. But that maybe Encore.
Exactly. I think he played the last Bittersweet Motel, I think, was at the Gorge in 21. I think it was the Encore at the Gorge, which was obviously very unexpected.
Dude, I would love that. That's one of those songs like where like you're just getting the song, like you're not getting anything special, but like I would love to hear that.
Oh yeah.
It'd be cool.
Like that and like Strange Design and When the Circus Comes are all like
love those.
Just like who could be mad about this?
Yeah. They're those, and I was talking about this a little bit on the last episode, but like those, and like you could even throw Shade in there. Those are just good songs. Like it doesn't matter if it's Phish playing and singing it. It doesn't matter who it is. That's just a good, well-written, kick-ass song.
Yep. Shade's a great song.
I love Shade.
I know.
I love Shade.
We're gonna cover it someday. Like that's gonna be one of like the more recent like gooey Trey songs that we're gonna cover. That'll be like the first. Like, we'll cover Shade before we cover Everything's Right. Actually, no, we played Everything's Right.
Oh, there you go.
At our first show.
The whole time you're just sitting there frowning. You're like,
yeah, and you know, music. But then you got to take it for a spin because that's really the point of that song. Is like, take it for a ride.
Let's see where it goes.
Exactly.
I love it. Dude, Lonny, thank you so much for taking the time on a Saturday morning to be on the podcast. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you.
Likewise.
And plug your guys' band. Where you have anything coming up?
SEAP, yes. Sarah Elaz is Almost Phish. SEAP. We are full throttle right now. A week from today, March 18th, Philadelphia, Southern Jersey Network. We are playing at the Falzer Club in North Philly on March 18th with the band What with a question mark. They're playing with us. They're kicking things off right. Show starts at 8 for the New York City crowd. March 28th at New Blue, and then April 2nd at Bo's Bar in Green Lawn, New York on Long Island. That's going to be a big one. Dope. April 2nd was the first day of Island Tour. And this is April 2nd, 2023, which is exactly 25 years later to the date. So we are doing a big Island Tour show. So kind of like the greatest hits of the Island Tour and all of that.
On a Roses?
There's going to be a lot. I mean, I'm not learning Yem for nothing. I don't know if I can pull off an Okie Pot into it, but
dude.
But in Island Tour fashion, maybe Yem will still be the second song as it was at the Island Tour.
Cool. And
so that's what's coming.
And where can people find you on socials?
Yeah,
your personal, the band.
Yeah. For SEAP, Facebook and Instagram. SEAP, Sarah Elaz, Almost Phish. Can't miss it. And personal Laundrell Eats on Instagram. I do pizza. I do private pizza parties. I do, for the New Year's run on the 30th, I delivered 45 chicken parm sandwiches to the Madison Square Garden area. It's for, appreciative and hungry fans. That was super cool. So follow Laundrell Eats, keep up with the food stuff. Whenever Phish comes to town, I will always do a food thing. So if you're coming in from Oregon, from Michigan, and you want a proper, New York chicken parm sandwich, I'm going to do that for you.
That's cool, man. That's cool that you do that.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Giving back, yeah.
That's the livelihood right there.
Yeah.
And the music.
And the music.
And the music. Always.
Dude, thank you so much for taking the time to be on. And hopefully
having me.
Absolutely. And hopefully we can cross paths at a show soon.
I hope so. It's going to be one of those, like, you're walking up, I'm walking down. Clay!
Holy shit!
Those are the best ones.
Yeah, I love those.
Or from like across the pavilion or the lawn or something.
Is that Lonny? Yeah.
Can't wait.
Play a fluff head.
Yeah. Everything's right.
Yeah. I love it, man. All right, cool. Hang out. I'm going to end the show and we'll talk logistics.
Cool.